Let me tell you a story. There was a young man standing at the edge of a new year. Behind him was 2025, a year full of mistakes, full of lessons, full of memories he couldn't change. In front of him was 2026, quiet, empty, waiting. He said to himself, "This year I will be different." But deep inside, he was afraid, because he had said that same sentence last year and the year before that. An old woman saw him standing there and asked, "Son, what are you waiting for?" He said, "I'm waiting for 2026 to change my life." She smiled and said, "2026 will not change you. Your goals will..." That sentence hit him like thunder, because he realized something painful. A year without goals is just time passing, and time passing without purpose is a silent failure. Most people don't plan their year. They hope for it. They hope for money. They hope for success. They hope for confidence. They hope for happiness. But hope without action is just a wish. And wishes don't build futures. Goals do. So the young man sat down and asked himself a hard question. What do I want 2026 to say about me? Not what he wanted to buy, not what he wanted to show, but who he wanted to become. Because goals are not about things, they are about identity. The first goal he wrote was not about money, it was about discipline. He wrote, "In 2026, I will become consistent, not sometimes, not when I feel like it, every day." Because he understood a weak routine creates a weak year. A strong routine creates a strong future. The second goal was not about others. It was about himself. He wrote, "In 2026, I will master my mind. No more negative thinking. No more self-doubt. No more fear controlling his decisions. Because if you don't control your mind, the world will control it for you." The third goal was about courage. He wrote, "In 2026, I will stop running from my dreams. No more excuses. No more waiting. No more hiding. Because the biggest regret in life is not failure, it is never trying." As he wrote these goals, something changed inside him. Not his money, not his situation, but his direction. And direction is more powerful than motivation. Let me tell you something important. If you enter 2026 with no goals, you will leave 2026 with the same problems. But if you enter 2026 with purpose, you will leave with power. The old woman returned and said, "Son, don't make goals to impress people. Make goals to improve yourself. Don't write what sounds good. Write what scares you. Because the goals that scare you are the ones that change you." So he wrote one more goal. "In 2026, I will become the person my future needs me to be. Not lazy, not afraid, not average, but disciplined, focused, strong." And that night, he slept differently. Not because life had changed, but because his vision had. Because when you set goals, you don't just plan a year, you design a destiny. The young man entered 2026 with a notebook in his hand and fire in his heart. But life didn't get easier. It got louder. Distractions knocked every morning. Comfort whispered every night. Excuses waited at the door. And one by one, his goals were tested. The first test was laziness. Some days he woke up tired. Some days he felt unmotivated. Some days he wanted to quit. His mind said, "Do it tomorrow." But his goal said, "Do it now." And that was the battle. Because the future does not belong to the motivated, it belongs to the disciplined. Friends laughed and said, "You've changed." He smiled and said nothing, because he understood something new. Growth is lonely, but regret is worse. Then came failure. He tried, he worked, he studied, he planned, and still, things didn't work. Money didn't come, success didn't come, recognition didn't come. Only effort came, and effort without results is where most people quit. But he remembered the old woman's words. Don't measure your year by rewards, measure it by your discipline. So he kept going. One night, sitting alone, he asked himself, "Why is this so hard?" And the answer came quietly. Because comfort and greatness don't live in the same house. If you want comfort, you can stay where you are. But if you want greatness, you must move. His goals began to shape him. He woke up earlier. He spoke with confidence. He stopped wasting time. He didn't wait for perfect days. He used imperfect ones. Because progress is not built on perfect moments. It is built on repeated effort. Temptation returned again and again. The phone, the bed, the noise, the crowd. But every time he chose his goals, he chose his future. He learned a powerful truth. A goal without action is just a dream, but action without quitting is a destiny. The old woman met him again and said, "Son, many people set goals in January. Few people protect them in July." That line cut deep. Because setting goals is easy. Keeping them is hard. She said, if you want 2026 to respect you, you must respect your goals. Not when it's easy, but when it's painful. Slowly his mindset changed. He stopped asking, why is this happening to me? And started asking, what is this teaching me? And that question turned problems into training. He began to see himself differently, not as a victim of time, but as the owner of his year. Because goals don't control your future. Your daily choices do. And every night, he wrote one sentence in his notebook. Today I move closer. Not fast, not perfect, but forward. Months passed, not with magic, not with miracles, but with meaning. The young man was no longer the same person who entered 2026 with fear in his heart. He had become someone with direction. His failures became teachers. His struggles became strength. His goals became his identity. And one day, he stood alone and looked back at the year, not at what he gained, but at who he became. He remembered the days he wanted to quit, the nights he felt invisible, the moments he thought his goals were too big. And then he realized something powerful. Those moments were not stopping him. They were shaping him. Because pressure does not break you, it builds you. He went back to the place where the old woman first spoke to him. The same road, the same silence. But this time, he was not waiting for the year to change him. He was ready to change others. He stood in front of young people and said, let me tell you something. 2026 is not special because it is a new year. 2026 is special because it gives you a new chance. A chance to choose discipline over distraction. A chance to choose goals over comfort. A chance to choose growth over fear. He lifted his notebook and said, these goals saved me from wasting my life. Not because they were easy, but because they were clear. Then his voice grew strong. You don't need perfect conditions. You need clear direction. You don't need luck. You need daily action. Because a year without goals is just time passing. But a year with goals is a transformation. He told them, don't set goals for money only. Set goals for your mind. Set goals for your discipline. Set goals for your courage. Because when your character grows, everything else follows. And then he said the words that shook the room. If you don't decide what 2026 means to you, the world will decide it for you. And the world will give you distraction, not destiny. The room became quiet, not because they were impressed, but because they understood. Now let me speak to you. 2026 is not waiting for excuses. It is waiting for action. It is waiting for your routine. It is waiting for your courage. It is waiting for your decision. So before the year begins, write your goals. Not what sounds good, but what makes you better. Not what is easy, but what is necessary. Because one day, your future self will ask, what did you do in 2026? And you will either say, I survived it, or you will say, I built myself in it. Remember this, a goal is not a wish. A goal is a command to your life. And discipline is how you obey it.